Morara asks people for money. And when you ask people for money, you don't have, like, you can't ask me for money for 3 years. Understand? The elections are too far. If the elections were next year, then Morara stood a chance. The fact that the elections are too far, people will have gotten tired.
Every other time with Eric, another episode, we have a special one again. The tweets keep coming. Someone told me I need to change that intro, and just for them, I'll make sure I do that intro. We got the podfather in the house, Ikonini, man. How you doing?
I'm good. You?
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
How's it going? I see you guys are churning out content like crazy.
We are trying to, I think it's Jalas that says the main enemy is poverty. So we're just trying to keep poverty,
Yeah. Far from
yes.
at arm's length.
Yes.
But you guys seem to now have reached, I started consuming your content heavily at, say, top of the year.
Yeah.
And you've reached, I think I would have called it, I'll use aviation terms. You guys were in the climb.
Yeah.
And now you've reached the cruise. So you've kind of figured out your science of content. I see you've added Zach. How did Zach come into the mix?
Because Zach never left. I don't know if that makes sense. It was only like he used to be a neighbor. He had to move. He used to be what? So before he figured himself out on how to be able to, now something that was next door is now kilometers away. So now he's been able to figure it out. And plus, he had some family stuff to figure out. So yeah, that's why now he's back here.
And I've seen post, of course, the Gen Z movement. You guys are doing a lot of political commentary, and of course, with a spin of humor, which is always there.
Yeah.
It's serious, but it's not. It's serious, but you guys, the angle you give, I wouldn't want to kill you.
Yeah. It's good. I feel like right now, one of the things that this government has shown us is how important politics is. So, like, I think it's on Friday. Like, I saw someone had written the way we are being taxed. Like, the tax rates in Kenya are so high. We can compare with Europe. But what you get in Europe and what you get in Kenya is very different. You see, in Europe, every shilling is accounted for. In Kenya, how much is accounted for? So, yeah, that's why we need to keep just making noise. Plus, this story of them trying to change the constitution was actually serious. I think the outrage is what has made them maybe relax, but still don't be surprised when they say that from public participation, they found out that a lot of us want us to change the constitution. So that's why we have to keep making noise. Yeah.
And you're saying people want to change the constitution, but not specific to term limits.
No, it's term limit. It's the whole term limit thing, yes. And I feel like that term limit thing, it's I think the way we treat Kenyan politics in Akwaga, it's our turn to eat. So you want the turn to be as long as possible. So that's why we have to keep making noise, because I think if they get away with that, it's going to be another Moi thing. Remember the way Moi, his first 14 years were null and void, and then we had to look at the new 10 years. In this situation, I feel like it would be the first 10 years null and void, then a whole other 14 years. And during that time, shows like Ikonini would die because freedom of expression, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So what does it feel like? I mean, because I've been with you, I've been on your platform, you've been here, we've been interacting. What does it feel like post-movement things are worse?
Yes, I feel like that because during the movement, there's a time when we felt like things were going to change. And then the amount of violence that was unleashed on everyone, people ended up being super afraid. So now we don't know, can we actually change stuff? Like Sawa. I expect people to register, to vote. But if anything happens and the numbers are manipulated, what will we do? We know these people are able to. Like I always say, they're like Diddy and White. There's that boxer called Diddy and White.
I know Diddy and White.
His t-shirt, maximum violence. So the government is ready to unleash a Diddy and White on us. So what does that mean? I feel like that has made us lose hope to a certain level. Plus the fact that the one guy who everyone thought was on their side, right now we are not sure, and that's Raila. See? So if Raila goes to the other side, the government ends up with like a license to kill.
So where do you think Raila is right now?
Actually, don't know. There are people who are hoping that he's planning to pull the 2002 thing, where he betrayed Moi last minute, And so we are hoping that's what he does. Just betray this and then pay your debt. Like nowadays I joke that the Kikuyus are the Lannisters. And I feel like it's time that the Lugos are the Lannisters and just paid their debt to Kalonzo. So I mean, that would be my, because a lot of people want this mysterious politician from outer space. But I feel like that's going to be really hard to get. So we just need to work with what we have. And what we have is this one guy. I remember when one of the lives I asked someone was like, we don't need these really corrupt politicians. And then I asked him, name one corruption scandal, Kalonzo. And he had to think about it. And I asked him, if I was to ask you to name another political corruption scandal about Ruto, would you take 2 minutes to think about it? You see?
I think that in itself is a sad state of affairs, in as much as it's very realistic what you're saying. We cannot just find a politician from outer space. But then also the fact that we have to reconcile that we have to now pick from the litter is actually so terrible that Kalonzo is someone we'd want to front. I don't want to get specific. I can actually think of
my counter argument would be Kibaki was on record saying that Moi should run the country forever. When Kibaki ended up president, he was very different from Moi. We can never judge anyone who's never been on the steering wheel. You see, like even the way Gachagua was thrown out. Gachagua was thrown out because he was never on the steering wheel. It's Ruto. It's the president who runs the country. So you can never judge a number two, because a good number two follows what the number one is doing. They have no power. Then I think someone else also mentioned that if you were to talk about the snakes killing people in Kalonzo's constituency, apparently when he was an MP, there was no CDF. How much power did he have? And then you see snakes, that's nature. Like dealing with nature.
Wait, so there was actually a thing, this is information for me. There was actually a thing where snakes were killing people in his...
Yeah. I think it's one of those places. I don't know if it's Mwingi. There's an Ukambani place with a lot of snake bites. Ujuagi mpaka watu tembea, like people are even disfigured.
And a Mutiso, sorry about that, guys.
Wana tuangusha bana. Yes, there's a place mpaka I remember telling a friend of mine that mi nikienda area kama hiyo because I fear snakes so much.
Same.
That if I was to go there, I'd have to go with like the highest boots and just hope for the best. And then Pia, like I also gave a story on the podcast where someone I was with in Seiko is also like from Cumberland, yes? And his dad was bitten by a snake and the dad had total organ failure. You see, like this is some ridiculous stuff. So are we supposed to blame an MP for hospitals not being there? You see, that's not an MP's job.
It's a tricky one, yeah.
Yes, so I feel like if you're judging this guy, and I'd be ready for someone else. I'm just being realistic. I'm saying like this is the options that we have. I feel like the next election needs to be more about accountability, where you can't come in, increase taxes left, right, and center, give your family government deals, sell the airport and the health sector and the transport sector to one person and then expect to serve 2 terms. If you serve 1 term, it's enough warning to the next guy. So we can have that situation where, because I feel like now, if you're to be realistic, we always expect presidents to spend at least 10 years in power. And that needs to be stopped. Yeah.
But if that's how, if term 1 has ended up looking at this is what, year 3, year 2.5?
Yeah.
And suppose this guy wins the term 2. Can you imagine what that potentially looks like?
It's going
and
to
I
be
think
nasty.
the fear of that is even what's making people as learned as you also reconcile that it might have to be like a Kalonzo of sorts.
Yeah.
What do you think of? So that's team for Kina Morara, Caswell is all dead. Or what?
You see, with the Morara situation, it's really hard, because you see, Morara asks people for money, and when you ask people for money, you don't have, like, you can't ask me for money for 3 years. Understand? The elections are too far. If the elections were next year, then Morara stood a chance. The fact that the elections are too far, people will have gotten tired. So what would be my advice to him is never ask. Let them give. If they're giving, never post any. The ones who are giving will keep giving. Yes? The ones who don't want to give won't give. But if you keep asking people, and the way life is getting harder and harder, like right now you can imagine how much money is being cut from people's paychecks when there's extra SHA, there's housing fund, there's, all that stuff.
I'm a victim. I looked at my payslip sometimes. I'm like, wow, you feel like there's a hand in your pocket, literally.
Yeah. So now if you ask me for money, I'm there like, si pia nilipe tu ushuru basi. So I feel like that's where the problem is. And also another problem ile alikuwa nayo ni if you've already gone through easy violence amepitia, at Bomas, then in Narok, it shows people that you're not ready politically. Because you see, what's the last time ulisikia like a Raila has been attacked in Narok? It takes
In
a
fact,
certain level.
you said something I found so quite profound. You said how that was his like first entry into real
Yeah,
Kenyan politics and
Yeah,
what it it's not just fans on Twitter and being able to attract a crowd. It's also the fact that you might be met with goons.
Yeah.
And are you prepared? Do you have a counterforce? But in the recent past, you've almost become, your platform has also become like a political punditry.
Yeah.
And positively so. That was that an intentional move, or you just talking about things that are happening?
I think during the whole Gen Z thing, you remember, there's a time, I think a lot of people forget that there was a time there was a cancel Mwafreeka, whatever. Because I was saying that Gen Z needed a leader, number one, and then I was saying it's a political fight. So that's the time I realized where people don't realize that everything is politics. Even the fact that me and you are seated here and we can talk about what's happening in Kenya, that's politics. If me and you went with these same microphones and we're talking about Kagame, by tomorrow we'd be either be in jail or somewhere.
I've
dead.
actually said that specific thing on this platform. Yeah.
So everything is politics. And that's the reason why I felt like, yes, let me be talking about politics. And not just that. Like I'll pull a clip from 10 years ago just to prove my point. I think it's yesterday someone joked, like on one of the lives of Ikonini, someone was joking that, hey, Mwaf, I might enter into politics then one day you pull a clip from which year, because nowadays I like doing that, where I take you back to
TBT.
10, your TBT, and then just show you the way these people are. Nini. And then I think another thing that also made me start doing that is I'm a really big fan of Abba and Preach. Do you know those?
Yes.
Yeah, and the way they react to other stuff. So it's like in Kenya, our celebrities are politicians. Yes,
unfortunately,
yes.
I say that that's a very unfortunate state of affairs.
Very unfortunate. Yeah. So that's the reason why I feel like it's good to talk about these guys, and it's good to see how they evolve. Like I was giving the example of Opio and I. This guy was on the floor of parliament telling people the way, right now we want to go and join the Gen Zs. And right now, if you see him today with the president, like looking at his expensive watch, like he's become part of the system.
Which brings me to my next point, Marv, because life and history would show us one gets more successful because you have over 100,000 people behind you. You're growing daily. You're a sensible guy. You're the one, by your own admission, you're saying politics is part of existence. So how long before they recruit you? You know, one would easily ask the angle of before, are you going to be threatened, Nini? But if I was in politics, I'm looking at you as a potential asset. And how long before you're approached?
I think...
and are you selling out?
I know, I'm not selling out. I'm not selling out. You see, for me, there are a few things that are non-negotiable. Yes? Like presidential term limits, to me, that's... so I don't see where we'd get into them. Can the opposition... I feel like the opposition I'm working for free. I've been the person using my platform telling people you have to start looking at the Matakaruas and the even Jimmy Wanjigi. I've said I'll settle for anyone just to teach this guy a lesson. Yes,
and that effective communication, because what you're doing in the future will be studied. For you, it's a podcast, a platform. What we're doing here is fun for us. It has turned into a bit of business. But the way the world is moving, I just saw this morning, I was watching Trump on Joe Rogan. At some point, for someone to be taken seriously in the political arena, they'll have to come sit here with Eric. They'll have to go on Ikonini to interact with Mwaf so that your followers can be heard. So at that point, if I'm the one running... briefcase, are you taking the briefcase or
it depends? I always say it depends. Is it life-changing? Because you know me, like
what's the figure?
This is what I normally say. I always tell people that you need to go into the Econini records and you'll hear me tell you that if you ever hear me selling you bullshit, just know I've been paid. But don't forget what I told you before I was paid. So that's what we have to work with. Is it life-changing? How much is life-changing? I wouldn't put the...
You don't have to get specific. But you see, isn't that then what ends up happening with politicians? I loved the episode with Jalas. I laughed my ass off. But you can see even him. Remember Animals?
Yeah.
The book where a guy is changing. He's in like stage 3 of change. And I think it's once you're in that arena, to have clean hands. In fact, off camera, I was talking to my crew. It's almost impossible, especially in our context, for you to survive you almost have to have your hands dirty. I had Ronald Karori here, a very interesting guy, high achiever, and now he's dabbling in politics. But you could kind of get the sense that for you to maintain
Yes.
that, you kind of have to bend to the nature of politics. So how different is that from some of the people we critique and criticize?
I think for them it's this one. There's this series that I always recommend for people to watch. It's called Boss. It used to be on Stars. So Boss is about this very corrupt mayor in Chicago, but his corruption was different. Him was Chicago comes first. So have we done what people in Chicago want? Sawa, you can take your 1%, you can take your 2%, but Chicago comes first. So he'd be corrupt and he'd kill another corrupt politician. Why? Because the corrupt politician ate before serving Chicago. You see, what I have a problem with Kenyan politics is when you start thinking about changing presidential terms, we're talking about individual benefit. It's never about the country. If the country was benefiting in one way or another. So yes, this thing of selling out, to me, it depends with what we are talking about. There are things that are non-negotiable, as I keep saying. Term limits, freedom of expression. This we can't discuss that. Can we discuss me pretending all of a sudden I believe in Jesus Christ? Yes, we can work. That one we can work with. You see, I can do anything else, but easy like these real issues which affect like masses of people. Those are the ones nasemaga nah.
But the way politics is being played right now, I think there's almost a Putin-esque, Vladimir Putin-esque level of, it's not just, hey, boss, can I buy you out? It's also like blackmail. So I feel like some of the people we have in parliament are not just bought, they're bought and blackmailed into. So you find someone is voting a certain way and you're like, huh? How is that guy?
I always joke that I feel like Ruto has their nodes. Like it makes no sense. The way anything he says, he does. And that's now the one thing, Musamaga, like I always joke that what would happen if Ruto had my nudes, and I'm there telling myself, at least the one good thing right now is when Ruto is in power, I'm not going through my whole face. So najua kama atakuwa na nudes zangu ni nudes na wife na kama si hivyo needs maybe kana jack off or something.
But it's
fun. It won't be ati nimeshikwa na some girl. You can't tempt me with women the way you'd have tempted me with women maybe 10 years ago. Ajua 10 years ago dem angefanya hivi alafu aniambia Mwaf tupanane pale nitaishia. Alafu before I know it, I always give the story of a certain comedian, sitasema ni nani, but there's a comedian who was being blackmailed by Nigerians. So he was set up. So hapa Kenya, this is
sex tip?
Yeah. So he was set up. So this girl, it was a Kenyan girl. So the Kenyan girl starts talking to him, but she'd been sent by Nigerians. So he ends up at this house, and this is someone who was rich. It's like one of the biggest comedians in Kenya. So this guy ends up in some random house. I think was it in Kitengela? Then the next thing, him is butt naked. Alafu Nigerians showed up with cameras. And I'm there thinking like, dude, at a certain level of wealth, the girl has to come to your comfort zone. You don't go to the girl's comfort zone.
And also, who is this girl? You also have to be very careful how you engage past a certain level. And we have, although I'm a huge fan of Trump. And one thing I've learned from Trump is, bro, me, I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
You can imagine the things I've done in my the wildest times of my addiction. Anyone can come and try and say anything. Get ahead of the story like Trump. Ponster. Shrug it off. And then the people who are accusing are left like, we thought you would deny, we thought you'd... Once you admit and just get ahead of the story, the people who matter are my wife. I come and tell my wife, by the way, but my wife knows everything. There's nothing I've left. So that level of blackmail may not work if you have the right approach, because just get ahead of the story. You hear there's a video of you jacking or something. You post it.
And then you Pornhub, like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Yeah. That would be something.
So you have no one has reached out, not even, and when I say reached out, not a bribe, just join our team. Like
not join our team, but have I gotten Zile's a politician asking for an interview? Yes, that one I've gotten. And but join our team, but I think it's too early. Even for Igaba, what they're still trying to do is they're still trying to figure out how this wave is going to be. Because one of the things we have to look out for is, if you've checked, like if you look at the previous elections, like polling stations, like registration centers have very short lines, and then ikiwa karibu kuwa na deadline kuna jaa kabisa. So I'm hoping that this time the lines are consistent, like people just register, alafu it's young people register consistently, so that by the time kuna like it's time for elections, people can actually sway the vote, and that's the time that now we'll see the government now trying to come, because they need that gap not to be too big.
And I've seen you sensitizing people about how the strength of your vote. Just to backtrack a bit, we had on an earlier episode we showed today, we had the guy who does cybersecurity, and he was telling us how pretty much anything of yours can kind of be accessed generally. If someone actually has a targeted, so just give us a few tips on how to protect your privacy. The basics, verification, etc. They actually go a long way. Having strong passwords, as guys, as men, man, same password almost for everything. Quickly, I recently changed all of that because I used to have either same or too similar for many things, which is dangerous. But you've been doing this podcasting, platforming thing for the past 3.5 or so years, right? And how quickly did it become a job for you?
I always say, like I've said this on other platforms, but I always say it's when a few fans, especially in the US, started sending money that didn't make sense to me.
Katao.
Yes.
USD.
Like this is what would happen. There's a fan who sent like $300 in 1 month. Like, Buddha, jua, because naongea hapa, naongea hii puzi tunaongea hapa. So that's when I realized that this thing makes sense. Then I looked at how podcasts are consumed in the US by Kenyans. It's for that long commute. That commute is like 30 minutes to 1 hour, you see. So they need something long to listen to. So that's when I started realizing that this thing can be a job, yes. So now through hizo nini zao, when I was just starting to realize, kitu funny now ni, around the same time, bro, big, like I lost my big bro. I remember I don't know if I told my big bro struggled with alcoholism. Yes. So your time nikiwa ocha, I remember thinking, and I was looking at my savings and like, should I just get a very fast computer? And the time ukiwa ocha, now you're bored and you start thinking.
Where is Ocha for you?
Ocha is Kisumu, Nyakach, the land of Omieri.
The snake.
Yeah, the snake.
Of course.
Yes.
So stuff used to make headlines. It's funny, eh?
Yeah.
Omieri was like mainstream news, I remember.
Kuna time kanyoka kamepatikana hapo and people are like, Omieri amefufuka. So time nikiwa ocha, I was like, maybe it's the time to just invest, go 100%. Not because we used to render, and the render would take 14 hours.
Take 14 hours, eh? Sound familiar, guys?
So
but
like,
hardware issue also.
Yeah. So it's like, what if? So that's when Villanili took tu from your funeral. One of the first thing I did was just did a withdrawal. Nikaingia online. There was an offer on an M1 MacBook. Bought it. Then nikakuja. Then with Lilikuja, what used to take 14 hours, I decided, let me render this thing and just go in the living room. Nikona nimeniandikia like 1.5 hours. Like, this is bullshit. This can't be real. Nikaenda kwa living room. Alafu after around 50 minutes, I was like, hiki tu saizi ni 50%. Wacha nienda napata complete. 42 minutes. Nika play. So it playing really well. And I was like, yeah. So now I can be able to do a whole hour. Something that used to take 14 hours to render, now is taking under 1 hour to render. Wacha sasa to tweak. We never used to do any color grading. Wacha tuongeza color grading. Wacha tuongeza nini. That pushed it to like 1 hour. So if this thing can be done this fast and it's not frustrating, because 14 hours unaenda kulala, unaamka, unaogopa stima itapotea, all that nonsense.
Anything can crash.
Yes, anything can crash. So with Eo, when it became that super fast and the fans were still supporting, I was like, now this is a full-time job. And that's when now nikaingia kabisa.
So you've captured a nice car, because even on that long commute for guys in the States, I mean, that diaspora, identifying with home, you sound home, but you're very learned, I'm sure that's very big, especially for diaspora.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with Ian and Rapture and Zach?
Ian we'd always worked pamoja. He was like mnaweza mwita nika protege fulani ama I don't know what, like
mentee.
I was mentee, yes. Because Ian, when I was the boss at Ghetto Radio, Ian was like 17 years old. So they used to show up with boy fulani anaitwa Chief. And
just curious,
Yes.
Just curious young guys.
Yeah. Okay, Get Radio, we had a high school team. So walikuwa na show up wakiwa form 3, then after form 4, then after they finished form 4, wakakuja akasema they wanted just internship to learn. Then wakashikana na Robo. There's a guy called Robo who used to be at Get Radio. So they used to be the street team na yeye. So that's how Ian nini. Rapture, we done the morning show on Get Radio pamoja. Then we did Raya. Raya was on K24, then NTV, then QTV. Sindio? So kulikuwa na hiyo relationship. Alafu now Zach is the guy who got me into podcasting. I think nishambia gatu hivyo. He kept telling me because before I did the podcasting, I'd been called for a job at Vibes FM because I still love reggae music. So nikapelekwa Vibes, did the whole orientation thing, wakanipiga mapicha. Mimi nikajua sasa I'm going to get a job on Vibes. But then hakunichukua, and the reason was I was too famous, which was bullshit, because they ended up taking Nazizi, who's much more famous than me. So I don't know what the reason was, but of course mad respect to Nazizi. So when this happened, I remember nikisema history ya media mi sana miacha now, let me just do other stuff. But then Zach started telling me kuna kitu nitangua podcasting ile aufanyaga hivi na hivi na hivi siri, we do a podcast.
He was a consumer?
Yes, he was a consumer, a very big consumer wa Joe Biden. Apart from Joe Biden, I think other hizi zingine sizikumbukagi vizuri.
I'm a huge Joe Biden fan.
Yes, so me nilikuwa naonaga podcasts, but I never knew what they were called. So I used to wonder like, alafu pia kwa in my mind I used to think Kenya taka chini for this long I watch podcasts. So now the funny thing is there's a certain video somewhere, I don't know kani zaipata, but there's actually a video of like maybe 11 years ago, mimi na Ian just seated on the couch talking, but we never knew it was a podcast. So it was very short and we were just talking shit, and then we left it at that. Na wife akisema like, you people need to keep doing this. So now fast forward to 2021, ile time Zaka ananiambia like this thing needs to happen. So there's this once nikamwambia like sawa tutaanza on Wednesday, and that Wednesday I remember because mimi nilikuwa upstairs anaishi downstairs. So I remember nikiteremka because ile sana nenda kujua hii kitu aje. So tukaenda pale, mic kawashwa. Now the funny thing about me is when I do something the first time and it feels right, I just get now fully invested. So we literally do the first, it was like 20 minutes and I actually enjoyed it.
It's really fun doing a podcast, man.
Yeah.
People don't realize.
Yeah, so I actually enjoyed it. And before you know it, I was like, shit, we need to be doing this. So it turned from him asking me to me now asking me like, hey, next Ikoen. Then now we did a couple of those. Then it gave me an opportunity to talk about stories that I never talked about on radio. I always give the story of like one of the things I always remember about my big bro was the way he'd go to Ocha, because he used to be in an Ocha school. So akitoka this school, he'd go through Ocha, then come to Nai. So he always had these wild stories of things happening there. Let's see tukiwa Nairobi. So remember on episode 8, it's called Romantic Gases. People can go and check it. And it was a story he came and gave us of one of our aunts was making love to one of our uncles. And she ended up farting. And this guy came to give us this story. And I'd never had a platform where I could tell people, hey, so tuko na Zach, hey, kuna siku moja auntie yangu fulani alibaki ameshoot. You see, so now I was like, and then people loved that story. So
the freedom.
Like, this thing is going to give me a space to talk about stuff that I know. Then I gave people the other story of there's a day I was messing with a girl. Then nikapigiwa na best yangu niende nimuone. And then the next thing she was like, if you're not going to see another girl, why don't you wear my panties? And mimi na ujinga yangu nikava. Then I got stopped by the police. So
stop and frisk.
Yeah, so nikaanza kufikiria nikiingia kwa cell na bother nini ita happen. So when I gave people your story, unaenda kwa comments unachikijwa buda ndiko sijui Ohio, we ajajo hii story ilifanya nika stop gari sijui kwa interstate sijui nini. Then I was like, this is interesting, this is a place where I can give you my darkest stories and what. And that's how I just fell in love with it, because mujuaga like najuaga like the wildest story that happens to me naenda kukupatia, because I know other people would never give like embarrassing stories about themselves.
People see your vision like for you as you grow your platform, because it's growing, it's moving fast. And the thing with podcasting, like I said, and that's something we both share, it's a lot of fun to do. Yeah. And of course you're much more advanced in terms of, for you it's already like a viable business. So but where do you see
okay, funny enough, I'd want to reach that level of the Joe Rogans, what you're saying, where be able,
put that one.
be able to sit down with
There we go.
politicians
Yeah.
and actually ask them stuff that they can't be asked kwa nini mainstream media. Like for example, there's this one thing muonaga when Kenyan politicians go to places like New York and they will take videos of themselves walking down the streets and they can't do the same thing in Nairobi. I'm always like, why are you so proud of something you can actually change unaifanya huko? Like enda online tuna
Kina Wavinya.
even the president was on the streets of New York. Alafu wase wako, they're so proud. I remember nikiona nani Moses Kuria kwa subway, so proud. Like this has been done by other politicians. It's not been done by CG people from outer space and what. So iyo, alafu I've always have this thing of I get ashamed by Kenya's poverty. Does that make sense? Where like I've never been to Dubai. I'm assuming ushaenda Dubai.
Yeah.
But ukifika ile Dubs airport alafu toke Dubs ukuje Kenya hakunaga that level of shame ya.
No, it's always although you quickly adapt back, but it's always, every time I've traveled, there's always that, like you reach somewhere and you see how advanced the things are, how advanced the systems are. I went last year, now I've shared it 100 million times. I went to Canada and we went for training. And the way that facility operates, they've compartmentalized every part so that it's 24 hours. I can come in at 3 a.m., fingerprint, enter. Only my fingerprints and my training partner for the day, for that session, can, for that particular time, enter. And the instructor. And then there's a one techie. So the finesse in terms of how they're doing things is just, I mean, then you come back to Kenya and right from the airport, it's just a reminder that, oh my God, okay, I'm back.
Incompetence.
And then I always say there's a duality to our existence. So on the flip side, we're great. I mean, you and I here talking about, I confidently think I can go to Joe Rogan, and so can you.
Yeah.
So ideologically we are there, but then now on the side of implementation and putting the groundwork for all this talent we have as Kenyans, we're falling short. So there's that big disconnect.
Yeah, because I think the politicians never look at these things the way we look at them. Because I don't know if you saw the video that Larry Madowo posted where he was entering Singapore. And the whole experience was no human interaction.
Yes, you just go scan your passport.
Yes, no human interaction. And you look at that, and then you look at Kenya, and you're like, we can do this stuff, but it's just that we don't want to do it. People want to just be rich. You want to be rich in a poor country instead of wealthy in a rich country. Because, you know, there's a certain amount of money. I always watch these guys who talk about money, yes? And someone was saying that the hardest thing to make is the first $100,000. And afterwards it
flows.
Simple.
Yes.
Kenyan politicians, we're talking of people who have at least $10 million. If you have $10 million and you're still on a salary, you don't need to steal anything. You can now concentrate on developing the country and making the country. And you know what's going to happen? If you have more buying power, then your $10 million is going to grow exponentially. But right now, what's going to happen? The best you can do is hide it somewhere in the Cayman Islands, somewhere what. Because
so is it gluttony or is it fear?
I think it's gluttony. It's more of gluttony than anything. Because they've gotten away with it. So why is it fear? Like why... like right now we have some corrupt Indian company, we are giving them everything. The only reason we are giving them everything is greed, because you've had this guy is worth $100 billion. You want to be worth $1 billion. I'm at $10 billion. Now unaamua wacha tuuze nchi.
And my brother was here on a previous episode. He's a guy in business, and you're saying how in business circles, well before the scandal, Adani is well known for being corrupt. But now as you evolve and as you grow your platform and as you grow the whole brand, boss, you're interacting with the who's and who of society. And of course in Kenya there's levels. There's an older guard. I saw you had someone like, what's his name, Omalo, Eugene.
Yeah.
But then let's bring it closer. You had a Jalas on. Yeah. Do you hold his feet to the fire? You tell him, boss, you've gone on the other side.
Hey, you try your best to nini. You see how they wiggle their way out. Like Jalas had say that day, and I even said it on the platform, that he was able to still convince me why he's the right guy for Langata.
Same as from watching that, he reeled me back in.
Why he's the right guy for Langata. And I always say, Pia, when I'm looking at MPs, I look at MPs through the legislative thing where you're supposed to make laws. So when it comes to like impeaching the deputy president, I'm not happy with that. But as long as you're not trying the Cheragay thing of changing terms, I can let you get away with 1, 2, 3 things. But when now tunaongea juu ya changing terms and doing what, that's where now I have a problem with it. So we'll see. But the ones that I'd really want to talk to are the ones who are now in the executive, because I feel like when you're in the executive now, you're involved in making real change.
I'd like to see you play intellectual chess with the likes of an Itumbi. I'd just like to see him on your platform.
Mhm.
And I think right now you have the gravitas to
Yeah.
get a guy like that on.
Mhm.
Because he's Mjanjes, it's very intellectual.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy who can almost leave you feeling like Kenya Kwanza is...
Yeah, he's doing well. Yeah.
So,
Future ni maombi.
I'd like
System ya facts.
system ya facts.
Mm.
So you're expounding about the vision. You want to eventually, of course, have the... Like,
Yeah, so I want to have that. It's called opinion shapers. So I think even like lately I've been quoting Christiana Manpur, where she says she's not trying to be neutral, she's trying to be on the side of truth. So I want that sort of thing where, if you come to Ikonini, we're trying to put out as much whatever as possible. So I want that side of truth and what, but I still want this other side of when it's time to just hang out and just make jokes, like with Akina Rapture, we can still have that. So if you can get that balance between very serious content and still being able to opinion shape, because the reason why I feel like serious content is necessary is we grew up knowing that at a certain age, when you reach a certain age, comedy is no longer important. I don't know if you felt that, but I used to look at like our fathers, and I don't think I ever saw my dad just sit down to watch a comedy and just laugh. It was, I'm an adult, I need to be serious. So now Sisi, even we always get these jokes where we'll be making jokes, alafu someone will be there, ametuandikia kwa comments, cheki ama grand buddha wa Ikonini wako wakiongea hapa. And then mcheki grandkids, because now this person has put it in their head, amejiweka kwa kichwa that ukishafika 40 you're not supposed to joke about anything. Even see, there's someone who posted that at kwa nini Major bado naongea juu ya sex na iko over 40. Major is actually not, Major hajafika 40 yet, but nani alikudanganya that after you reach 40 stop liking sex?
There are guys who died at 90 and are survived by 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
But I had the privilege of, although still he did it very closetly, because when my dad used to watch stand-up comedy together, but not in the public domain. For him, it was like a thing we share. And outside this forum, don't go telling guys I watch Def Jam, mama. So it's a unique dynamic. So you actually do hold these guys' feet to the fire.
Yeah. That's what we are. I'm hoping to do. So far, I would not say like I've gotten your opportunity ya kuonene hivo. Because pia kitu staki kufanya ni, as you start these things, you're still building a business. So you want to be, unaanza soft hivi, lure people in, and then at some point now you can go wild, especially the time tutakuwa close to the elections. Right now you can push. You can push people. So even part of the research zile nadu saa hizi, I always put hizo notes there. One day if I sit with this person, we'll talk about this, because this is something they've not talked about in any other platform. So we'll talk about easy vitu kadhaa.
That to me shows a very, very, sometimes people also take, in as much as you're at school to do a podcast, we have stories. There's an artistic element to it. Having a proper conversation is actually, it's art in many ways. And you saying you write down things, I fantasize conversations sometimes. I imagine like if I was talking to this guy, this is what I'd ask. So you sound like you're left leaning. Are you following the American election?
Yeah, I'm following it. I think Nani is going to lose. I think Kamala is going to lose. I feel it's one of those things where the
who do you want to win?
If it was me, I'd still want Kamala to win.
Yeah, I can hear you a bit left leaning. Huh?
Yes. I like the left, but to a certain level. Iki come to these stories,
you like people.
We have 15 sexes. They start losing me. But if you come to like right now, the way immigration is such a big issue, I'll always look at the Kenyans who supported Ikonini, and I don't know if all of them are legal. So if there's this one person who anasema he does not care if you've lived in America for 30 years, as long as you're illegal, he's going to deport you staki mtu kama huyo. So because of such stuff, that's the reason why I want her to win. But I don't think she's going to win, because I don't think, number one, the fact they've joked around her race, where she's not black, but they've really tried to push her as a black woman. I feel like that's going to put off a lot of
Bit of
black people.
dishonesty there.
Yes, and now in the swing states, that's when they're going to suffer, because New York is blue, California blue. But if we go to Texas, is red. Okay, those things, I don't expect those ones to change. But sasa hizi swing states, who has more drive to go and vote? I feel like with those swing states, the Republicans who feel like they're losing the country, wako na more nini. So I'm planning, like nimekuwa nikiambia Kenyans in America that I'm planning to do a live podcast that night.
I was also planning to do one as well, man. I wanted to do like a round table. In fact, I wanted to buy some. But what I'm finding in this specific election, I feel like both sides are not. Kuna bravado that's missing. Like there's one who's saying we've won it, it's ours. It's like even they're not 100% sure how it's going. Like it can go either way. But from I have relatives in the States and they're all Kamala, right?
Yeah.
And I can understand probably from their vantage point, the nitty-gritties of being an immigrant is probably best. But when you look at it from aerial view, world view, to me, it would seem Trump is a more, and the better of the less evil. I'm not a pro-Trump guy, he's super, but I think between the two, I think he's better for the world.
Yeah, okay, because during his time, Akukwa wars, so there are a few things he needed, but okay, I don't know. But unajua uzuri wa American elections, I saw someone, I think on the Financial Times, saying that kuna people who've been saying that this is the most important election in American history. And this Financial Times guy was dismissing it and saying it does not matter. If Trump wins or whatever wins, America still continues, because that's the best thing about that country. The institutions are so good that, yes, the president is important, but not as important as maybe in Kenya, where the president is everything. Ukonaje, the president is not everything. So I think America, they'll be okay. Sisi tuko na shida zingine za kipumbavu.
Have you been following the Diddy story, Diddy trial?
Yeah, the Diddy story.
You think they'll lock him up and throw the key?
Yes, I think he's going to be locked up, and I feel like he's also going to pull Aaron Hernandez. I don't see him surviving.
You think so?
Yeah.
Kill himself?
Yeah. And
He'll unalive himself, kindly.
Yes. The reason why I think he's going to do that is you've been a millionaire since you're like 24 years old. Right now you're 52. 54. Is it 54? I think I'm a 52. Let's say for over 28 years, you've been a dollar millionaire. Living the soft life. Telling yourself you have favorite foods and favorite restaurants and favorite shits. Now all of a sudden you are in this very small place. People know you as this sexual predator, so everyone is trying to screw you, and outside everyone is going for your money, because that's what's happening. You've seen like the amount of civil lawsuits.
So rumor has it, let me just touch on the money thing, that was he settled with Diageo quietly, right? It was not in the public domain. I had Andrew Schultz talking about it, where they settled for $1 billion for him to quiet that whole campaign against racism, how they mistreated him, because it was going to affect the brand. And then, but then I think they were like, okay, sawa, you made us pay a B, we'll show you also. So I think now they're trying to also bankrupt him in the process. But remember, Stato is also, they're legal, everything is technical. So you'll find a guy can get away on a technicality in terms
I think
of...
reason yake ni hard. Ni ushasikia the in federal court, the win percentage.
97.
Yes. So that's why it's hard. Ingekuwa state level, I think he'd have gotten away with it. But your federal level, and then the way everyone is snitching, like when you have that amount of money, everyone is snitching, and the ones who are not snitching, the fake stories become too many. And then remember, another thing I don't like about liberals is when they started this movement of believe women. Because with that, what happened is, yes, are there women saying the truth? Yes, a lot. Are there
maybe even the
cheat?
majority? But
yes. Remember, like there's this woman who had promised her ex-boyfriend, $3 million if she lied that, like she confessed to him that Diddy had violated her. Right? So she wanted 7M. So you see, you have those cases. So plus for him, why do all this crap? I think he was closeted. So,
but I think also, Mwaf, at our own little level, small money, if you're not solid with yourself,
Yeah, unavuruga.
you can actually lose yourself, you know. So, and with every new level you unlock, you'll quickly have a thought process that you have to quell. So you can imagine now you're unlocking billions, and then you've been getting away with it. Remember, a lot of these things started pre-internet era. So rape culture was actually a thing. So people were doing
rap was bad.
Yeah. Before I let you go, man, I know you're an avid music aficionado.
Yeah.
Who are you listening to here and internationally right now? Because
here, funny enough, is I really loved your EP Nyashinsky too. It made concern. I saw there's a certain lady that I follow. She's called Achiengo Tiato. She'd written that it's like a long love letter to Sedo. But I know, I think because I'm a rap fan, I didn't look at it that way. It had those whatever elements of battle rap and so I loved it that way. Apart from that, what else am I listening to? Of course, albums wise, I'd say Queen of the East was a really good album. I'm someone who loves listening to music on big speakers, blah blah. So I loved that album. Internationally, I always listen to weird people. If it's rappers, it's mostly so-called underground rappers. And,
nothing new, no Ghanas of this world.
No.
Your nephew doesn't put you on Ghana. You don't find him.
Now the funny thing about my nephew, the one that I work with, this is my big bro's kid. My big bro was never a music fan. That's a funny thing. He was never a music fan. So his son has taken that side. Like, you'll never find that dude listening to music. He's just gaming. So sometimes you'll be talking to him and he's like, for now, his dad really loved playing sports and whatever. So now, my other two bros, the twins, the ones that I follow, loved music, kabisa, but their kids are too young. So now I'll see from their kids, like, who takes that. Now my kid loves music. So what else am I listening
to? Are you a default patriarch? You become the patriarch of your family by default.
What do you mean by that?
A patriarch, in simple terms, is literally the guy that people look up to, basically, in terms of advice, joining the dots, sometimes financial, the overseer of things. And that really happens when maybe like the parents are not there. So have you become the patriarch of your family?
No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say that. Because I'd say my other two brothers are holding their fort in their own ways.
Okay.
But now I was saying, like, the music that I'm listening to, yes. When it comes to Nene, I always go back to the old school. Like, it comes to reggae. Like, ever since Setit came out, I've been finding myself listening to all that, like, 90s dancehall music. Kina Tony Rebel, Buju Banton, Beres, Hammond, blah, blah, blah. It comes to, like, other stuff. Like, I think one thing, watu wajuagi juangu is when it comes to singers, I really love British singers. Like, kina Jacob Banks, Tom Walker, and Labyrinth, Emily Sande. That's, I don't know why I normally find myself gravitating towards them more than the American side. I feel like the American side is too commercialized. It's too, I'm trying to make a hit.
Yes.
For the British guys, I'm trying to make great
music.
Yeah, kina Passenger. Like, I find myself listening to that, a lot of that. And then I was also saying, like, weird underground hip-hop. So this year, one of my favorite albums is called Common and Pit Rock. So Common and Pit Rock, that's an album I enjoy. Sikufurahia album ya LL Cool J. I don't know why.
Guys gassed it up. He went on a whole promo tour. But I think also, I mean, different times. Kudos to him for exercising the muscle all these years later. I think he also, if you listen to his different interviews on different platforms, he was literally trying to say, like, you could not just wish me away and I'm a legend, whether you guys agree.
So I did enjoy it because, funny enough, now album ya nani, MC Light, I've enjoyed that one. So the MC Light album has been good. But yeah, imekuwa hivyo. And then apart from that, it's just the big African hits.
And what?
Me, like, on a random day, if you find me in the house, I'm just listening to big African hits from the Wizkids to the Extra. Think I've listened to Extra Pressure. Ukienda pale BN and Nani, I've listened to that shit, I think, even more times than them.
I think TikTok has forced me to listen to it maybe more than I've liked. It's a good song, though.
Yeah, it's a good song.
And
it's really good.
Lastly, what's your guilty pleasure? I've never asked you that, and I've always wondered. What does Mwaf do? I know you don't turn up.
Yeah.
You don't feel under. So what's your thing? Am I feel under on the low?
That was me in the old Rene. I don't know. Can we say?
And you don't get high at all?
Yeah,
right?
I don't get high at all. say like I always feel like my interaction with electronics is weird. So I'm someone who's going to enjoy things that other people don't. Like when I get a new gadget, saa zingine nimekaa tu chini naiangalia tu niko, okay. Then I test it out and what. So I'd say it's that side now putting them to use. Like right now there's nini, kuna bet on Ikonini. Because nilisema when I bought my TV last year nilisema I'm not going to change for the next 4 years. So kuna bet here. Say tunapatia 2 years.
And you know the little nuances and the differences between like this TV. I know when you came to my house the first time, you're like, hey, you were curious about the TV.
Yeah. So kuna kuagana hiyo. So I'm really so that and kama saizi I'm trying to figure out. I was telling now wife alikuwa niangalia zile za wanachukua. So I was telling her the way when you're setting up a home theater system. So kuna kuagana something called Odyssey. So Odyssey, now the one that I use inatumia Odyssey, it's a Denon nini. So Odyssey is supposed to calculate how far the speakers are from your ears and then calculate how the sound is going to be.
Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
No idea.
Sure. And I remember I was telling her the way I feel like Odyssey does such a bad job because kulikuwa na time by accident I'm using the app, then by accident nikafinya set to default. So when I set to default where now the speakers are supposed to be at the same level zote, I start watching movies and I'm there like, now the sound is surround all of a sudden. With Odyssey, sometimes you forget this speaker is on. You have to be there like, hii speaker iko on kweli mpaka unaenda unaanza kuisikiza. The minute is set to default, which is supposed to be the bad side, all of a sudden now mtu akipigwa risasi unasikia mpaka damu inatoka from this side.
Yeah.
So kuna hizo vitu za where I end up. Kuna time I talked to my wife like, because even when I switched the TV it took her 3 days. Mtoi wangu because unajua kumwambia mwaga that weird like I switched the TV nikeka same size kuja ikaga hapo. Mtoi wangu because she was in Ocha, she showed up in the house, stayed for like 5 minutes and then she was like, Dad, you changed the TV.
So you share that?
Yes. Madhake she didn't know anything. So I'd say maybe your interaction yangu with tech, that's where the nini. Like I'm really excited by the time tuna shoot niko really excited that on Monday the new Mac Minis are coming out. Na sayo Mac Mini yangu imeanza kuchapa. So I'm really looking forward to
are you selling?
I've put it to work.
Is your Mac Mini, is it usable?
It's usable, but now I want to use it for streaming.
Oh, fair enough. I was like gonna buy it though.
Yeah, for doing the lives. Ningetaka kuiuza, but I'm always like, wacha nikate, because it's still strong. The only thing I don't like about it is sometimes when someone is watching the new Ikonini videos and it's gonna part video inapotea alafu inarudi. So it's not able to do these really hard jobs. It can make a few errors and then it continues. So the M4s are coming out. By the time, I don't know what I'll achieve by when, but yes, the M4s are coming out and I'm really looking forward to it because I've been using an M1 and it's crazy. And my laptop inakuwaga M3, which is really crazy. So I'm expecting M4 to be a certain level and it's 16 GB minimum. So it's going
clearly
to
tech is this guy's forte.
Yeah, so that's hizo side of it, neza sema like that's where neza sema guilty pleasures, I'd say maybe that, and enjoying movies, music.
That's nice and safe. No blackmail can come out of that.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been Mwafreeka. What a legend, man. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Asante for the invite.
I'm looking forward to coming over next.
Yeah.
You also have an open invite.
Yeah.
Keep inspiring, man. I copy a lot of things in terms of especially dissemination. I watch. Nowadays, I've been struggling to keep up with everything, but I watch, I'd say 90% of what you guys do, man. Okay. Salima, the whole crew, I'd like to interview. I'd like to have a round table at some point with at least 2 more of the whole crew.
I think even Rapture before his stand-up anafaa kuja.
When is what's the date?
His stand-up is on 21st of December.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an easy thing to plan.
Yeah, so 21st of December from around itakuwa 6 p.m. ama nini. So yeah,
I'm sure guys would love to see.
Umekuja. He's like, I've listened to his set about the impeachment so far, like when he's still working on it, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. But he's a funny guy, man. Naturally.
Yeah, he's naturally. That's even in it. Like I always joke and say the way it's like I've interacted with a lot of comedians and they have to think to say something funny. For him, it's just part of it.
I think every third thing he says is a joke. And it's funny.
Yeah, and it's funny. So so we are really looking forward to your like Rapture the Scientist Raw and Uncut 4. So I've been joking that it's an uncut foreskin. Yeah, so it's going to be a good one. Eh?
You can send us the poster you can put at this point in the episode, because I've seen you put up the poster. You can send us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sasa ntawarushia. So yeah, so that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to. Hiyo ndio tunaenda kumaliza mwaka, and then next year we are hoping to do like a few live podcasts, so like around Easter. So Easter tunataka tufanye a podcast on ground, then around August another one, then December do Raw and Uncut 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and then hopefully June I've been invited by a few Ikonini fans kuishia Brito. I've never been to Brito, so I'm hoping that I want to get the visa around April, just in case I think Arsenal is winning anything in May.
My goodness. Every other time, fans, you guys are being bought for tickets and being hosted in a foreign country. I'm not well off just because I'm a pilot, guys. Please. I need gear. I need... At this point, we'll be putting the PayPal, we're putting the number that you can send some funds to. Thank you so much, Ma, for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, asante. And apologies, by the time tunashuti nimekuja late kidogo, had some family stuff to do. So,
Don't sweat it. We had a very nice discussion off air about the faith and religion. And so don't worry about it, man. We had a nice engagement with these guys.
Yeah, okay. Nyote ni believers?
Yes, but different versions. Different versions.
Okay. So I hope one day mta cross over to my side. My side of reality. Okay. So asante sana.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Every other time, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now.